Is it true that the Mona Lisa was not that significant of an art piece until it was stolen and later recovered in the early 20th century? So, originally Leonardo da Vinci brought the unfinished Mona Lisa with him to France. King Francis I, François I in French, was a big fan of the Renaissance and tried to get a lot of Italian artists to come north. Most said no. Da Vinci spent his last years in France, and King Francis I ended up with the painting. For hundreds of years the painting was practically never seen by anyone. For a while it was hung up in the king's bedchambers. Not to say it was completely unknown, just that very few saw it. Then comes the French Revolution. One of the early acts of the revolution is to turn the Louvre into a people's museum. Soon, the Louvre starts filling up with art, including the Mona Lisa, which hardly anyone had seen for centuries. Art critics knew it was important given Da Vinci's fame, but it wasn't some super famous universally recognized masterpiece. Then comes the theft. An Italian worker at the Louvre steals the painting, runs off and tries to sell it. He got caught, and when he does he lies, and says that he was an Italian nationalist trying to bring the painting back to its rightful country. Since Italy was newly united the people were in a jingoistic fervor, and he only spent a few months in prison with many hailing him a hero. The international scandal this caused led to renewed interest in the Mona Lisa. It also led to its prominent display in the museum. By World War II the Mona Lisa was probably the world's most famous painting. When the French director of the Louvre ordered the Louvre items to be removed for safety prior to the invasion, each item's box got a certain sticker to notify its importance. The Mona Lisa was covered in them, as it was considered more valuable than any other. After World War II France was in a rut. It went through decolonization wars, and it was in an economic, political and militarily weak position versus the US. So, how to make up for France's lost grandeur? Culture. The French government purposefully posed as the leader of world culture. To impress itself on the Americans, the Ministry of Culture allowed the Mona Lisa to visit New York City and Washington, D.C. President JFK led a ceremony before its unveiling in D.C. and the American media had a frenzy. It was a huge success, as France successfully sold itself to the world as a pinnacle of culture. Never mind that this was a painting made by a Florentine. Even if the art was Italian, France was claiming it was the greatest at preserving and appreciating art. France did this trick again with Japan, back when Japan was a rising economic powerhouse in the 1970s. France sent the Mona Lisa to Tokyo in 1974. Sure enough, the Japanese media had a field day. TLDR, the Mona Lisa was a masterpiece no one but the king and his mistresses saw for centuries. The revolution meant it reached a large audience. The 1911 theft made it super famous, but its exposure to the US as a calculated political event made it the ultra famous painting that it is today, because the American media dominated world media, and still does.